Hello designers and welcome back again to my channel. My name is Abimbola. So in today's video, we are going to be making this beautiful dress with an underbust corset. So for this dress, I made use of Ankara fabric, my skin net, chantilly net, and for the underbust corset, I made use of crepe fabric as the main fabric and my doll face as the lining for the dress. That's the lining for the underbust corset. But for the skirt part, I made use of the cotton lining for the skirt part. So this video is just the pattern drafting video, and the next video will be the sewing video for this dress. The step-by-step tutorial on how to go about the sleeve, how I was able to achieve this sleeve, is also on the channel, so I'll drop the link in the description below. Now let's get into today's tutorial. So the first thing I did was to mark out my horizontal lines. The first line is the chest line, the next is the bust point, then we have the underbust, and then the half length, which is the waistline, and also my hip line. So I'll go ahead now to label these lines one after the other. So this is it, and the next thing I'll do now is to get my corset length. That's the underbust corset length. So for this corset length, from my half length, which is my waistline, I'll come down by 5 inches. Now for the length, you can either come down by 4 inches or 5 inches, depends on the height of the person you are working with. So but in this case, I came down by 5 inches. So I'll label that line the top length. At the top of my pattern paper, which also serves as my shoulder line, I'll take my shoulder measurement divided by 2, and also on the chest line, I'll take my shoulder measurement divided by 2. Then I'll go ahead now to connect the 2 points with a straight ruler. For my shoulder slope, on that line, I'll come down by 1 inch, and then I'll go ahead to take my neck width and my neck depth, which is 3 by 3 inches, the standard basic neck measurement. So I'll also mark the neck depth 3 inches and then connect the 2 points with my curved ruler. Now I'll connect my neck width to my shoulder slope with a straight ruler. Now I'll go over to my bust point, and on my bust point I'll take my bust span measurement, which is my nipple to nipple divided by 2, and then I'll mark that point. I'll also go ahead to take the same nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 on my underbust, my half length, and then with a straight ruler I will connect it from my bust point to my top length. Now for my underbust tightening, at the center front area I'll take 1 inch, and on the side front part I'll take 1.5 inches, and I'll repeat the same thing on the half length. I'll take that mark and then I'll connect these points together to the top length, and also on the other side the 1.5 inches mark will be connected from my underbust to the top length. Now I'll go ahead to connect my bust span measurement to my underbust tightening, and then I'll connect it like so on both sides. So with my curved ruler, I'll connect the bust point to my underbust. So now that that is done, the next thing I will do is to divide my shoulder into 2. So I'll go to my shoulder and then divide that line into 2 and get the midpoint. Now from the midpoint, I'll go ahead and connect the midpoint of my shoulder to my bust point with a straight ruler. Now for my overbust tightening, to get my overbust line, from the bust point I went up by 4 inches. So the reason why I went up by 4 inches is just to have a proper coverage. I don't want to expose the bust area at all. So that's why I went up by 4 inches. You can actually do 3.5 or 3 inches, or you decide to go up from the chest line by 2 inches or 1.5, whichever suits you. So for the overbust tightening, I did 0.75 to the right and a 0.75 to the left. And then I'll go ahead to connect my overbust tightening to my bust point. So that is what you see me trying to achieve in this video. So I'll do that for the right side and also repeat the same thing on the other side of the pattern. Now to draw out my neckline, just because I don't want the bust exposed, I came down from the overbust line by 1 inch. I came down from that point by 1 inch. Now I will connect from my 1 inch to my overbust tightening. But If you choose, if you want yours a little exposed, you can actually connect from your overbust to your chest line, and then you have that part opened up. Or you go ahead to take your measurements from your chest line, come down by like 1 inch or half an inch, or you even come down to the bust point. The more you come down from that point, the more revealing that part will be. So it all depends on what you are trying to achieve. So what you see me doing here is just to give you a guide on how to go about that point. But for me, I'll be making use of the 1 inch I came down at the chest line. So you can choose to pick any of the points that I showed you in this video. So I'll go ahead to clean up the markings so that we don't get confused with this. Now I'll go ahead to connect my overbust to the 1 inch I came down at the overbust line at the center front. So this is what I have after connecting that point. So I'll go ahead now to draw out my armhole, and from my shoulder slope I'll locate the midpoint of my armhole and mark that point. I'll go in by half an inch, and then on the chest line I'll take my bust measurement. I'll take my bust measurement divided by 4 on my chest line, and then I'll mark that point. And then I'll also add up the dots on the overbust part, which is 1.5. I'll add it up to the measurement, and then I'll also mark it. And I'll go ahead to connect these 3 points together. That is my shoulder slope to my mid armhole, and also to my bust measurement on the chest line. So the next thing I'll do now is to blend in from my overbust into my armhole. So I'll look for a suitable shape that's with my curved ruler, a suitable or convenient way of blending that part into the armhole, and then I'll go ahead to connect it like so. So I would carefully connect both points together, and this is what we have after connecting. I'm still blending it in properly, so take your time to also do that, blend it in at that point. So I'll go ahead to take the measurement of my dart leg from the overbust line to my bust point. This is to ensure that one dart leg is not longer than the other, as we are trying to through our dart. So I went ahead to confirm that both dart legs are equal. So I have a little shortage on that part, and that is what you see me mark. And then I'll go ahead to connect it back into our neckline at the center front. So I'll connect that point back into that line, and then I will blend it at the overbust. So with this, I will not have any form of shortage when joining my fabric together. So on the chest line, I already took my bust measurement divided by 4, and I added my overbust dart allowance to it. So on the waistline, I'll go ahead and mark my waist measurement divided by 4, and also add up my dart intake. That's 2.5 inches, which was used as the underbust tightening. I'll mark that point and connect the bust measurements to the waist measurement with a straight ruler. So the next thing now, which I will do, is to take my hip divided by 4 on the hip line, and also add up my 2.5 for the dart on the hip line as well. So I've marked that, and then I'll connect from the hip line to my waist. The essence of drawing out our hip line is just to guide us in the exact measurements that will be needed for our upper hip. That's the top length area. That the top length is our upper hip. So to have the exact measurement that is needed for that part. So now I have the yoke for the front, and then I'll go ahead to label the pattern piece 1. I have the second, the third, the underbust area, the fourth, and then the fifth for the pattern which I will be working with. And so I'll go ahead now to cut out my pattern one by one. So before I do that, for the neckline, I'll be making use of 4 by 4 inches for the neck depth and the neck width. So I went ahead to mark that, and then I connected the 2 points together with my curved ruler. So I'll go ahead to cut out my patterns now. Starting from the underbust area, I'll separate the underbust from the bust area, and then I'll cut that out like so. Next, I'll proceed to the bust area and also cut out my pattern for the bust, following through the lines that I marked out. And lastly, I'll cut out the yoke part of my pattern. That's the front yoke. So I have all my pattern piece for the front cut out. Now, this is the bust area, the yoke. And then for my underbust, I'll go ahead to cut out the darts. The darts intake at that point, I'll cut it out like so, and then I'll match them up together and tape it down. So for the back, I have my lines marked out. I have the zipper allowance, I have the armhole marked out, I have the chest line, same chest line which was used for the front 9.5. I have my half length, which is also the waistline, and also the hip line. So for the armhole, for the shoulder slope for the back, I came down by 1 inch and also marked my 4 inches width for the back. I'm working with 4 inches by 2 inches depth for the back. So I'll go ahead to connect the 2 points together like so. Now on the chest line, I'll take my bust measurement divided by 4 and then I'll mark it like so. Now for my back tightening on the half length, which is also the waistline, I took 0.5 inches, which is half inch, and then I'll connect my half inch straight up to my neck like so with a straight ruler, and also connect the half inch straight to the hip line for the back tightening. Then I will retake my zipper allowance, that's 2 inches from that point, and then I'll connect it back to the 2 inches on the neck and also connect it back to the 2 inches on the hip line, all with a straight ruler. And then I'll go ahead to take my waist measurement starting from the back tightening. I'll take my waist measurement divided by 4 and then plus my 1 inch for the dart allowance. Also on the hip line, I'll take the hip measurement divided by 4 and then I'll mark it on the hip line. I'll go ahead now and connect all the points together, the hip to the waist and the waist to the bust. So I'll connect. Now I'll go ahead and take my dart on the half length, that's also the waistline, and then on the chest line I'll also mark the same point, and with my straight ruler I would come down from the chest line by 1 inch and then connect it to the waistline. So mark 1 inch from the chest line and then connect your dart to the straight line there. Then take half inch on both sides and connect your dart back to the 1 inch below the chest line. So from the half length, I measured 5 inches downward and then extended my dart leg from the half length down to the 5 inches line marked. And so this is to tell you that the dart is not actually getting to the hip line. So this 5 inches line that we drew from the half length is actually our corset length. So because of the lacing bar and because this is a corset, I'll take out 1 inch from my waist. 1 inch from my waist. So this is what you see me mark here, and then I connected the 1 inch that was snatched from the waist to my bust measurement and also from that 1 inch to my hip. So this will help me snatch about 2 inches from the original waist. So we have the corset length ruled out at the 5 inches mark, and then we have our back pattern. I'll go ahead now and cut out this back pattern. So this is the back pattern cut out. So I went ahead to draw out my shoulder slope to my neck width, and then this is what it looks like at the end of our cutting. So the next thing I will do is to place a plain paper beneath our back pattern. So I already secured the paper beneath, and then I'll go ahead now to trace out what I have from the chest line. I would also trace out the top length, that's the top length, the 5 inches mark we came down at from the half length rather. I'll trace the side of my back pattern. I'll trace it like so. And finally, I'll trace out the center back, which is the original line that we initially drew for the center back before we tightened our waist. So I'll go ahead and trace that and also trace out my half length. So you note that there is a dart on this back pattern. So we'll do an alteration on the other one that was traced out. Now that our plain paper is removed, I'll now cut out our zipper tightening, that's the back tightening, and then I'll also cut out from the half length. Yes, I'll cut out from the half length. So this is what we have. So the lower part of this pattern, the 5 inches part, is not needed, is no longer needed. So this is what we have for the upper part of our gown. And now I'll go ahead to trace out what we to highlight what we traced on the paper. So this is it, the side back, the center back, the half length, the top length, and then the chest line. So I'm gonna ahead to trace out what we have. So like I said, the dart on the pattern which we traced from is the one that would be first eliminated on this newly traced out pattern. So on the waistline, I'll go ahead and mark my 1 inch for the dart, and then I'll connect it back to the chest line like so, and also connect it back to the hip line. So we are going to cut out that part. It's no longer needed in this pattern. So I'll go ahead to label what I have, the center back, and then use my marker pen to trace out all my lines. That's the lines we are going to be cutting through. I'll use my marker pen to trace it out now. So before highlighting the center back, I went ahead to do my back opening for the loop. So I took 3 inches from the center back, and then on the hip line, I went ahead to take 2 inches from that point, and then I connected both points together like so. So this is my center back opening. I'll go ahead to highlight other parts for the lacing bar. And this is it. So my eyelet will be fixed on this part of the pattern. So I'll go ahead now to cut out what I have for this lacing bar. So this is my side back, and then this is the upper part, this is the down part, so I don't get it mixed up when I'm cutting out my fabric. So I go ahead to cut it out now. And here are all my patterns transferred to the fabric. So this is the one we just cut out, the one for the highlights. I went ahead to cut out my main fabric and also the lining, and this is the other back pattern, that's the one for the half length. And I have the yoke for the front, so I have the back piece on that side, and then this is for the front. I have the yoke, I have the bust area, and then this is the under bust part. So if you got value watching today's tutorial, kindly hit on the like button, like this video. So the next tutorial will be the sewing part of this dress. Thank you all for watching. Bye.